Now we get to talk about a little bit about Beaujolais. You know, ironically, probably more Beaujolais was consumed recently than ever. I mean, obviously Beaujolais Nouveau is such a thing.
Yep.
And I think wine nerds like us bash it too much because it opens up opportunity for people to get. That's right. It's an easy because the quality is very questionable at times.
But I mean, it's really, it has become a cross to bear for this region because that campaign that Duboeuf launched all those years ago was really successful. But what it did, and you've talked about this, what it did is it created in the minds of people. It created, people got the idea that Beaujolais is a seasonal drink. It's November through Thanksgiving through Christmas. That this is what you drink. It's all those pretty floral bottles come out.
Right.
And then Beaujolais is for those 3 weeks, and then the rest of the year you don't bother with it. And that's
which is insane when you think about a place that's within Burgundy.
Yep.
That comes from a grape Gamay that's much more flexible and can be much more serious than people think.
Exactly.
And if you want to talk about true value in the wine world, when you talk about what we're paying, with a weak dollar that you could buy in the teens, Morgon.
These are, I mean, you're talking about some of the great winemakers in the world. I mean, not just great winemakers for this region, but, someone like Marcel Lapierre's Morgon. I mean,
insane.
Which is just fantastic. I mean, this is one of the great winemakers in the world.
But what's going on right now is, and I get these emails when we do shows like this, is I'm going to get 5 to 7 emails tonight saying, shut your freaking pipe hole. Because they're worried that too many people know and the price moves.
Exactly.
And
people are very sensitive, particularly these days, because, in this sort of economy, you're looking for value, and the last thing you want is, the word getting out about these things. And this is a wine from Jean-Paul Brun.
And Brun's an interesting character. This is the 08 Beaujolais Blanc, which is a Chardonnay. 13 bones. 1-3. 13 and 91 points. David Schilling. I didn't realize he scored it so high. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, this is an amazing story. I mean, Brun, is a guy. I talk in the book about how screwed up the appellation system has become in France, and particularly in a region like Beaujolais. Basically, you have a situation where, in the appellations, the local winemakers, their winemaker associations, sort of make their own rules, and
Let me jump in again, and I'm going to apologize because I don't want to hear the bashing of jumping on the guest. When he says make up their own rules, you think politics are ridiculous? Yeah. It is beyond ridiculous.
Exactly. I mean,
because nobody's really paying attention enough.
No,
There's nobody policing it enough.
No, well,
it's insane.
What happens is, I'm going
to get fired up right now.
Please go.
No, I'm going to stay calm because I want to, but I mean, it's really scary.
It is crazy what they've done to this, to the whole appellation system, and that's a subject that could take up the whole afternoon. But basically, what happens is, because it's local control, 95 to 99% of the wines get waved through, and in a place like Beaujolais right now, you've got a situation where a lot of winemakers are going.
Explain to everybody what you mean. I mean, this is.
They have a taste test. They have a quote unquote taste
Listen
test.
To this.
That to get your wine approved to put the AOC designation on
that you're
the
following
label,
the rules.
That you're following that you're making a wine that exhibits quote unquote typicity, and 95 to 99% of the wines throughout France, throughout all the appellations, get approved each year. Which
99.9.
Even though you've had wine professionals, polls of them saying 1/3 of the wines that carry the appellation designation don't deserve it, are unfitting of it, and yet unworthy of it. Yet you've got this situation where they're getting waved through because it's the local control, and they have an incentive obviously to wave themselves and all their friends
through. World, and
exactly,
that's your buddy who you golf with.
But it gets worse than that because in a place like in a place like Beaujolais, the huge economic distress right now with hundreds of producers in real trouble, and then you've got a few overachievers, and Brun is one of them, and And
is that Brun, or do you think that's Dresner to the?
No. It's Brun. I mean, it's happened to you have this very screwed up situation where in some of these hard up appellations, the better producers are being denied appellation status. And, the tastings are supposed to be done blind. So, you can't say, okay, there's something funny going on here. But when 95 to 99% of the wines are getting waved through and the good ones are getting picked out somehow and being denied the appellation, the guys who actually have international reputations, who make wines that are worth knowing, there's something that's not quite adding up there. And
it's called jealousy.
Well, that's what it is. It's, Gulliver meet the Lilliputians. Yep. And Brun last year, not his white, but his gateway entry-level Beaujolais, the L'Ancien Vieille Vigne, was denied the appellation.
I didn't even hear that.
Yeah, and so, he had submitted
on what point?
Off aromas. Now, I've had the wine. Lots of other people have had the wine. There's nothing off about it. It smells good. That's the difference. It's
not that he was cheating or not using
no. It was just
off aromas.
Off aromas. And it's crazy.
That's like somebody calling a foot fault in tennis.
Exactly.
Or like holding in the NFL. It happens every
But I mean,
play.
it just destroys the credibility because here's the guy who
there was no credit. But you know what? there was no credibility in the first place. I'm telling you this. People are so unaware. When I go to Europe, I just spoke at Wine Future in Rioja. I had a lot of nerdy conversations. And they think that consumers in America, I mean, there's not one person, I'm telling you right now, not one person there that cares about the appellation control stuff. They don't care about the AOC or DOCG, or they just don't.
And this is why, in a lot of ways, we're ahead of the average consumer in France these days, because the average consumer in France, I shouldn't say average consumer, but a lot of the buying in France still gets done on the basis of the appellation.
That's
and
right.
You go out, go ahead.
No, please.
You go out for dinner with people in France, and they say, "Oh, Châteauneuf-du-Pape." We have gotten the idea, and credit for this goes to the importers, people like Kermit Lynch, Parker.
I'm going to disagree with you. Well, now you're heading towards in America, the brand is the press. In Europe, the brand is the appellation, the place, the terroir. The problem is they think that's so great, and we do too, especially some of us Francophiles that think the tradition is great, and especially and I don't hate the press. I use it, and I use it here. At the same token, I don't think anything's good when it's one way or the other.
No.
Right? The problem is that this whole romance that, in America we care about 93 Parker, but they care about, Pick St. Loup. That's so much more romantic. It sends a place. The problem is there's so much bullcrap going on.
Well, that's right.
Like
it doesn't matter if it could be a fantastic piece of dirt, but if the guy who's working that piece of dirt doesn't have the talent, the money, the ambition to make a good wine, it doesn't matter how good.
Or it could be 2002.
Exactly. Exactly. But that's the point. Here we know that you look for the producer. That is the producer.
This is why I continue to stress, and the only hope I have to accomplish with the legacy of this show, when it's all said and done, when we wrap up in episode 999, when it's all over. Mott loves when I do.
What number are we up to now?
7 something.
777.
So
is today 777?
Is this going to end before Oprah's show? Or?
Well, that's the whole plan. Not to say I'm stopping in September of 2011, but there's some weird things going on behind the scenes. I can't.
No, but you got to beat her. You got to beat her because someone's going to get all the hype.
Or the same day.
Someone's going to get all the press here.
Anyway, the fact of the matter is that I just want people to trust their own palates. Whether it's the place, the romance of France, I don't care if it's Rhode Island and you love it. Own it. And nothing against Rhode Island. Love you guys. It's. I just want people to trust their palate, to just buy because we love this champagne. If you go, two guys, different palates, different things, we both agreed. You go out and you try it and you're like, I like Freixenet better. God bless you. But the process is the key.
Exactly.
The process of trying new things.
And we've been the beneficiaries in this country of some really good wine advice and some good wine education. And one can talk all they want. And I've got problems with the 100-point scale. I've got problems with the critics and some of the wines they recommend and so forth. But the fact is, they have created some very educated consumers in this country. People who understand, as we talked about, that it's the producer that makes the difference.
No question.
That's what you should be.
It's the artist.
For. It's exactly.
Listen, I don't care if a top 3-star Michelin chef walks in right now and you and I have the greatest products in front of us and he or she has nothing but crap in front of them, they're still going to make a better meal.
That's right.
Not always, but boy oh boy, I can promise you we can have much better meat and much better, vegetables and much better nuances. As long as she or he has something to work with.
I'll guarantee you with my cooking.
I got nothing. and so, as much as the terroir and all that stuff, no doubt, but it's really always a combo of the two.
Yeah, you're not, if you're working with a really inferior terroir, you're not going to be able to create, greatness.
World class.
No, they can, sort of dress it up and make it look.
It's like the head coach, though. Yeah. Right? There's some head coaches that win with no talent.
That's right. You can do it, and at the end of the day, it is the producer that you should be looking for, and that's a lesson that has been absorbed here. So
let's get into this.
This is his Beaujolais Blanc, which a lot of peach there.
Yeah, a lot of peach. Double peach, 2 peaches in a row now, coming off the white peaches on the back end.
We got
this a little more traditional. There's also a little bit like creaminess, a little oaky, even like
no, he doesn't. This doesn't see any. This.
No, I know, but butter kind of
Yeah.
He's 100% stainless now for a while, right?
Yep, and that's my understanding. No mallow, my understanding, and.
But I still get a very, kind of like creamy, buttery, even like a hint of. I wouldn't say it's oaky, but as I was going, woody, like a sticky kind of like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On nose, I could tell you right now that if I was going on nose, I would guess that this does touch some oak.
Yeah,
because it's really on the nose.
I'm not picking it up.
Not coming through for you.
No. I'm getting a nice, nice minerality coming through.
And see, that was so weird because I think you were about to go there. I was like, I'm not getting that Chablis like minerality at all.
No, I'm picking it up here. See,
See,
two,
and again,
two
that's
different.
right.
This is
Agreed on the last one. Really going in opposite directions on this one. Let's give it a whirl. Well, clearly on the palate, there is no indication of any kind of oak or wood. Very, very much seashell-like. And I would have to say your nose was picking up the nuances that came through on the palate more than mine was. I still trust mine. But clearly,
I'm not causing a crisis of confidence here, am I?
that would never happen.
I wouldn't think so.
Unfortunately, my mom loved me way too much. But I do feel like it's a tale of two. See, for me, this is a definite tale of two kind of different scenarios because
Well, the nose has a sort
the
of.
nose
You know,
is much creamier and heavier than the palate.
the nose does have that. I mean, it does. You know, there's a ripeness there.
Yeah.
It's unquestionable. I mean, it does. You know,
Very white flour too.
it does suggest that you're going to get a plumper wine in the mouth.
1,000,000,000%. Where I was about to go is I could tell you, bar none, that a majority of consumers, after smelling that wine, could conceivably be disappointed with the wine because it is so much lighter than it's.
And this is the thing. I mean, this is an interesting story too because I mean, this is and something obviously as a retailer you encounter all the time. It doesn't say Chardonnay on the label. This is
Right.
Beaujolais Blanc.
Oh yes, it does now.
Oh, does it?
Yes, big time actually.
Oh my gosh, there it is. Okay,
Yeah,
there.
he might have changed that a couple of vintages.
I don't
ago.
know. I
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, there you go. So now people have no excuse.
Right, but when it was just Beaujolais Blanc or some
Yeah.
producers downstairs Beaujolais Blanc,
Yeah.
we don't sell it.
Yeah, no, because people come in, they're looking for Chardonnay.
You've got to make a shelf talker that says 100% Chardonnay.
and
or
particularly
they're
at this
gone.
price point, because this is where people are shopping by the varietal. And
What do you think about this effort?
I like it.
like it?
I do like it. I like it. It's
What do
it
you
doesn't-
like about it?
it's refreshing. It's got plenty of concentration. It's it's just a very agreeable wine at a fantastic price, I think. And I mean, compared to what you get, at similar price points from New World producers,
Yeah.
compared to what you get, from California, for
How about-
triple or quadruple the price.
How about from Macomb? Because you can get a lot of stuff from
You can
Macomb
get some- you can get
in this
some-
price point that I think has typical some of.
You're not loving this.
I'm not hating it.
Yeah.
I think it's thin.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's thin, and I think it does the bare minimum of what this appellation and this kind of style does right.
Yeah. No,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like it's doing its right thing. It's not too oaky. It's not too clunky. It's not overbearing me. I think it's a very easy drink. I think it's a little bit too much of an easy drink. I find it a little bit hollow in the mid palate. And I think I do like the bouquet quite a bit. And I really liked it the second time around when I picked up kind of that spicy white flour thing going on.
There's a little mint on the nose
But
too.
yeah, I mean, for me, it falls a hair short.
But I think it's got good persistence there. You get some real
can-
minerality kicking across
For
the
some
back end.
reason, I can't pick that up as much.
You don't get that?
And I'm really sensitive and love it and look for it and love it.
I think
I get a little bit on the outer edges here. I get a little lemon peel.
Yeah.
I like the citrus kind of
there's
component
a
of
nice
it.
citrus component. It's got nice acidity.
Like it's almost complex. Like it's almost complex Sauvignon Blanc Loire like to me.
Yeah, I
know,
mean it's
it's light.
It's it's a lighter style for sure. But I mean I think for the price point, it's great value. The Macon also some terrific wines being
Yeah.
produced there.
And listen, I'm in a minority here. I mean, David Chalette, who writes now for, he's also a pretty conservative critic, doesn't throw around 91 so easy.
Yeah.
He, out of all the writers that Parker's brought on board in the last half decade,
very restrained
is
with-
really restrained. He went 91. You're loving it. I don't know. I mean, I don't mind being the odd man out.
No,
but,
listen.
it's
I mean,
my palate.
this is an important lesson. I mean, I think and it's one you bang home all the time. I mean,
that's all I care about.
it's what it's what you like. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't matter if someone slaps 91
Yeah.
points or
To me,
5 stars
that's
or whatever
right.
it is.
To me, this is a fun thing, I think, to really learn a lot from, because a lot of you can go out and buy a wine like this at this price point. To me, this is an 86 plus point wine. I feel like, how much wine are you able, in your position, how much wine are you able to taste in a week?
Oh, it depends on what I'm doing,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Are you
it
tasting
can be
a lot
quite a
of
lot.
that?
I mean,
Yeah.
I come up to the city for tastings,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
quite a lot. And
So I figured that. We're living in a totally different scenario than, to me, I guess what's really hitting me home on this wine more than anything else, and this is probably the thing I do more than anything, and I haven't talked a whole lot about it on the show, is one of the first things I do is can I taste this elsewhere in this similar price range and style? And I feel like I can.
You think you can get this in,
I think I can in very weird places.
Yeah.
Like Quince.
Yeah, no,
You know?
you can definitely find. I mean, there is,
Which is Sauvignon Blanc, by the way, which is telling you what I think about, the wine itself, body-wise. It smells so creamy. It smelled slightly even oaky for me on the nose. Clearly on the palate, no touch of any of that stuff. It lacks complexity for my palate. For me, it's like really good, solid wine. I agree. Listen, at 13 bones, it's getting hard.
No, exactly. And I mean, but this is, I think the other point too is, I mean, that, we have this idea. I mean, the French have been hit hard at the lower price points. But one of the reasons I was interested in us tasting this wine was because there is good stuff happening at these lower price points. I mean, you can find great value in France. Whether it's in the Macon or in the Loire, there's tremendous value. You just have to,
I think Beaujolais is one of the glaring places where you can get value.
Absolutely.
And clearly you can get value in Provence and Languedoc and even weird places like Gaillac and some of these places really do bring value. Yeah. And even entry-level Bordeaux.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's $13 to $15 Bordeaux out there.
There are very
from the 05 vintage that are fun.
There are very commendable wines that
and
can be found.
07 Rhone entry-level stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
if you can find it at this point.
Man, that's kind of crazy. This is an interesting choice. I'm dying to see what happens with the explanation for this being on. This is the 06 Napa Nook, which comes from Dominus, Christian Moex. 92 points Robert Parker, 35 bones, 87 cab, 5 cab franc, 3 Petit Verdot, excuse me, I love that, and 3 Merlot, predominantly Cabernet based, 06 vintage, kind of an interesting vintage, kind of lost in the hype of 07 right now out of Napa. Very beautiful places. If you've ever been, you definitely want to check out that in Napa. They've got a great facility. Tell me why this makes the table, the Christian Moex.
Well, first of all, Christian figures prominently in the book, so that was,
That answered the question.
No, but it's also, I think it's, he has a lot to say about the situation in France, and he's a very, very admirable figure. Not just for the wines he makes, but I mean just the as a human being, the sensibility, and just the way that this crisis, because
give us a little.
Well, he's very attuned to the situation of these the plight of these small growers who are really destitute in Bordeaux, and he's got his own label in which he's buying wine from a lot of these smaller producers. It's got to be good wine, he says. It's not a charity that he's running, but one of the reasons he's got these private labels is because he wants to be able to throw a lifeline to some of these guys who are making worthy wines and just can't find a place in the market these days. He's got people. His wife told me that he's got people coming up to him in church on Sundays asking if he can help them out. Other growers. So he's very, very sensitive to the situation. I mean, he sits there and his feeling is Bordeaux. He owes everything he's got in life to Bordeaux and what it's done for him, and he wants to give something back.
Good for him.
And he's. It's also interesting. 30 years after the Judgment of Paris, which was really the moment when things began to change. It was the 1976 Judgment of Paris when these two upstart California wines upended some of the most acclaimed French wines, and that was sort of the tipping point moment.
But it was a little crack. When you look back at it in history, we've had Tabor on the show, and if you really look at the history of it, it was like a crack.
It was something. It
opened the door to debate.
It was the moment that announced that good wine was possible in other places.
Sure, that's right.
Which for the French, they had just forever and rightly so had considered themselves to be the only purveyors of truly fine wines in the world, and so this was something that sort of opened the door a little bit and announced that good stuff was happening other places, and that has continued for the last 30 years. So it's an ironic twist.
Rapidly.
Exactly. It's an ironic twist on the Judgment of Paris that 30 years later, when Napa's sort of in a difficult position, some of the best wines being made in Napa are being made by a Frenchman, which is quite an ironic twist on the Judgment of Paris. And I think
you've got Philippe Malka running around making amazing wines. In a lot of different places. All right.
And I think with 06, I mean, Dominus has been a star pretty much from its inception. I mean, the 91 is an amazing wine. The 94.
I have 3 liters of both those wines.
Are you? Well, I'm looking forward to my dinner invitation.
Yeah, I mean, Dominus was like kind of my first. Dominus and De La Valle Maya were my first American crushes. Those were things that I had to have. And,
And I mean, this is when in the opinion of a lot of people, myself included, Napa's gone off the rails a little bit in terms of the style, in terms of the kind of wines they're making. These are wines.
I think Napa's got a very scary uphill battle.
They do.
I think very much like the DOCs and the AOCs. And
They've got their own problems now because
I think they overthink people caring about Napa. There was not Wednesday was one of the busiest days of the year here at Wine Library. It's the day before Thanksgiving, and I can tell you of the thousands, 4,000 people that walked through the store, not one person walked in and said, "Where are your Napa wines?"
Are you serious? That bad?
That's not how people shop.
No, but I mean it's interesting that a category that was
Quick in the comments. Little quick note in the comments. If can just give me a yes, no, or just a little comment on. Do you walk in and say, "I want a Napa wine"?
Yeah, and I think a few years ago it was a different story, wasn't it?
I think that they would say they want a Cabernet.
They want a California Cabernet.
It was never, it was overrated Napa. Even in its heyday, like the 91, 94, 97, 99 vintages, that whole explosion, Wall Street, it was all about Opus and Insignia. It was always about the wine that got the big score.
Yep.
Bryant, Screaming Eagle, Colgin, Shaper, Hillside. Or, and if that wine came from Paso Robles, like Justin Isosceles, then that's what they wanted. Okay. And so I've continued to argue that the press is bigger than people have thought. Yeah. Because I've lived in the trenches. I didn't go by theory or stats. I stood in a store and listened to every single person.
So people were looking for what they're coming in and asking for.
Yeah, and we're a big store, and we have plenty of searches on WineLibrary.com and all that. So. Yeah.
No, but it's interesting. Napa. My impression is I don't know if it's true here, but talking with other retailers. That $50 and over Napa Cab category is dead. It may not be Australia dead, but it's dead.
The only place that's doing well for us, really well, is on Cinderella Wine, our one-off site, where they're buying $50 wine that's $99.
Yeah, exactly. If you cut the price enough, it'll move. But and so here's this is a second wine from Dominus.
And it's a really nice price. $35 bones for some.
Where do you find value in Napa? And that's part of the problem. And so this is a wine.
Great color, by the way. Yeah. Really pretty, kind of candy-esque,
Yeah, there's that, but it's also got, what I love about it? It's got that bell pepper note, too.
On the back end, right? Yeah, a little bit.
It's got the bell pepper note. It smells like Cabernet.
You know what's funny? I've had that nuance, that greenness, and I wouldn't call it super green, but slight green.
Well, green's such a pejorative term, and it's,
That's a great writers that bring out things like that. In prior vintages, more than this one, this comes across very candy-like to me. I don't know if it's been open long enough or I swirled it harder. A little bit more candy-like, very candy-like for me on the nose. Purple gummy bears on the nose kind of thing.
I got to disagree with you again. I'm not picking that up.
We're really different on noses.
We are very different on this, yeah.
Yeah.
But
smell this?
He's going to break the tie.
Yeah. He always goes with a visitor. I always get killed here. But
but I'm a Cowboys fan, so
that's a very good point.
I may be toast on this one.
What are you getting on this? Anything?
I'm not getting candy.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Even to a Cowboy fan. You can't make it up. Such a traitor.
No,
it's candy. I'm telling you, I'm dying to see the people who've had this. For me, I'm getting like really dark, kind of like black candy fruit, licorice style.
There's dark fruit. There is licorice. There's some tobacco in there.
But there's sweetness coming off on the tail end of the nose for me. I like it, by the way. I don't think it's anything too horrible. But all right, let's give it a whirl. Are you picking up black olive?
There is some olive in there.
Yeah, right?
There is olive in there.
Which I really like.
Which is great. You don't get these flavors in some of these.
It's very chewy, too.
It is a chewy wine. This is a wine with some heft
like
for a second wine. I do.
I've had every vintage of this since a kid. When did it come out? 94?
I'm not sure.
97? It was late 90s, maybe 99. I'm trying to think. But I've been tracking this wine for a long time. And this is definitely one of the more approachable efforts at its youth. When I saw it on the table, I'm like, oh, especially from my experience, I'm like, this is going to be one of those do not rate. Sorry, SS Chris. But it's really, it's showing a lot more.
Oh, no, I think it's,
now.
This is
very velvety.
Yeah, this is, I think it's an impressive effort. And
break it down for me. What do you got?
What I like about it, it's got that exuberant California fruit, but there's elegance to this wine. There is elegance. This doesn't, this has a terrific structure, harmony. There's a coolness to the fruit, I find. It doesn't have that jammy, hot.
I agree with you.
That stewed character.
with almost a, black tea, earthy.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is, you're getting, whether it's minerality or, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it does have that aspect. It's not just fruit that's being flung at you here. I mean, and it's got terrific structure, and again,
it's almost like rock.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
it's kind
you're talking about one of the great vineyards in California. I mean, a historic vineyard. And I mean, this is the thing. I mean, while everyone's burying Napa these days, it's important to remember that there are great vineyards there that have produced some amazing wines. I mean, have you tasted some of the? I'm sure you've tasted stuff from the 40s, 50s, and 60s from California. It's amazing. Great wines have been.
And then you get into the late 70s, which are still holding up.
Oh, listen.
Some of that stuff is insane.
I had a 47 Louis Martini cab.
Mm-hmm. We did a whole Louis. You remember that, the 60s? We had martinis from the 60s.
I mean, this stuff is, it's just, it's.
I like this effort. I think this is really good. I love the way this wine finishes.
Yep.
It does not finish New World at all. This could absolutely, in a double blind tasting, trick people to completely off the Napa trail, quote unquote, because it finishes extremely old world, really.
Very supple. I mean, the tannins are fantastically integrated.
It's almost got a Spanish kind of like quality to it that way.
And it finishes with a freshness. There's a freshness to this wine. Again, coming back to,
I like it.
So much of what we find with Napa these days is just that stewed, baked flavor.
Yeah,
and this has freshness to it.
I would tell you that if you're a Bordeaux lover looking for a little bit of like a little shoulder of California love,
this is
just like a little sunshine.
This sort of combines the two, and I mean,
he does a good job with this. This is one of the more balanced, opened up efforts from this producer that I've come across, and at the price, I think it's very attractive.
And I mean, Dominus, the 06 Dominus is a great wine, but that's going to take a long time to come around. I mean, this is something that is approachable now. The Napa Nook is approachable right now. It'll get better. It won't have the shelf life or the longevity of the Dominus.
That being said, this is an easy 7 to 12 year wine. I mean, this
will go for a while. I mean, this is they hit a bullseye with this vintage.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 90 plus on this wine. I think it's a really good effort, and I think when you start talking economics, dollar for dollar, this outshines a whole lot of 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, $130 California wines out there who are just throwing power at you. It's kind of like Mike Tyson.
Exactly.
My favorite boxer. I mean, grew up loving him.
He was great.
But it was a he became very quickly, actually before the Buster Douglas fight, in the Tony Tucker fight, became one-dimensional.
Did you see it happen before the Buster Douglas fight?
The Tony Tucker fight.
Yeah.
He went the distance with Tony Tucker, TNT Tucker, and I was like, I just remembered going,
Yeah.
But I never thought he'd ever lose. I was little too. But this is not a one-dimensional effort. This has a little bit more to its game.
No, and I mean, I think this is, what's...
Pernell Whitaker.
Besides the price point... I am, absolutely. I mean, I've sort of lost my interest in recent years because there hasn't been as much.
Well, there's a fight coming up, boy. Next year, Pacquiao-Mayweather is going to be the most hyped
You know what fight killed me?
Ever.
What fight killed me was Hagler-Leonard, because I was a huge Hagler fan.
I was so pissed. I cried.
That fight killed me. I mean,
I was 12, 87,
I'm not sure I've gotten over that one, because...
He got robbed.
It was robbery.
All Leonard did was the
just
bullshit.
Run away.
And in the last 20 seconds, do the pity pat.
Run away.
Such a bullcrap fight.
And Hagler was just...
I'm pissed now.
Do you know where Hagler lives now?
Not a Mass anymore?
No, he lives in Milan. He's an actor.
Yes, I did know that.
He's probably a Barolo drinker.
He probably is, you think?
I hope so. He's been there
he's been there forever.
For a very long time.
He's an interesting cat.
He is an amazing...
Never asked for the rematch.
He just walked away. I mean, these guys... And look, it's funny, because Leonard was the guy, you figured that would walk away. He was the king, and he was the guy who stuck around and couldn't get out of the game.
The fight that's interesting about that fight is the John the Beast Mugabe fight.
Yeah.
Before. Now we're getting boxing nerdy on you. John the Beast Mugabe. You want to dig up something? They probably got some YouTube videos. John the Beast Mugabe versus Hagler. The Beast threw some punches in that fight that I think kind of took a little something out of Hagler.
The ones to go back and see. Hagler, Vito Antifermo. Remember those?
Those were nasty.
I mean, I think Antifermo lost all the blood in his body.
Every piece.
Twice. I mean, 2 fights. I think he bled himself dry every time. And Hearns, Cuevas.
Yeah.
Two rounds of the
everybody talks about Hearns Hagler. The Cuevas fight was even crazy.
I mean, that was explosive in the way some of these Napa
And Hearns, Iran Barkley is a great fight.
Yeah.
Iran Barkley is a character.
Hearns was something else. That was boxing's golden age.
Really was.
But I mean, this is not in that style. This is elegant. This is
Yeah. Pernell Whitaker.
Yeah, this
good defense.
This is a very good wine.
Hey.
It was great to do this.
Not only good wine stuff, but good boxing. I feel good. I feel like we've connected on another level.
Absolutely.
Ask the question of the day. Any question you'd like.
Has to be wine related, not boxing. Question of the day. Did you start out with Napa, and are you still as keyed up about Napa as you were if you did start out with it? Is that all right?
It's very good with me.
You know, a lot of people start out with Napa, and then, you know, some stick, others move on.
We're about to find out.
Just curious to find out.
Leave this man a comment. He deserves it. And check out his book this holiday season. You, with a little bit of me, we are changing the wine world, whether they like it or not.